Hello and welcome to the Freakacast. My name is Andrew Felson and with me a very special guest. Tell me your name, sir.
My name is Kenny Young.
And he is from the band Kenny Young and the Eggplants. Woo! I'm hoping many people know this. If not, you're going to get educated today because the podcast is to educate and inform and have fun, entertain and inform. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. But that's okay. I never do. So Kenny, how you doing, man?
I'm really good, and Andrew, it's really great to meet you. I followed your career for many years, and it's nice to finally have a conversation with you, albeit with this strange computer video.
Yeah, who knew? Back in I think 2002 is when I actually first reached out to you that we'd actually get to talk via computer and not text form.
I certainly would not have been able to predict this.
Yeah, although we should have, considering all the movies that featured it. But we will get into that. For starters, I guess the reason why we're talking to you today is you are the lead singer and namesake of a band out of New York that has been going for, how long have you been a band of this band, I guess I should say?
Right. Well, we've lost track. It's been a long time now, Andrew. So we like to get around actually answering this question by pointing out that we have access to a time machine. So
Awesome.
we don't really experience time in a completely linear chronological fashion. So it's a little hard to say how long we've been together. But we did realize that we first played together in Edinburgh, in Scotland, in 1992. That was our first appearance in the UK. So,
Neat.
So, apparently whether it was via the time machine or not, we did exist back then.
And which time machine are you using? One powered by plutonium, or is it a Wayback Machine?
Machine. No, this is more like an eggplant-shaped target.
Nice.
Green roof.
And green powered, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you always been New York based, or where are you from exactly?
Yeah, I actually grew up in the city. I've lived in Brooklyn for a really long time, but I spent my childhood in the northernmost part of Manhattan that most people don't know about. It's actually north of Harlem.
Okay.
So it was a real urban upbringing, and Gil, our bass player, grew up in Brooklyn. He's lived in Brooklyn his whole life. And Eddie, he's the only one who actually grew up in the suburbs. Grew up mostly in New Jersey, but then moved to New York as soon as he got old enough to.
Do you ever rag on him from being from Jersey?
No.
I have nothing against Jersey, by the way.
No, I'm sure, and neither do we, even though we wrote a song about the toxic swamp.
Yes. Where did you guys meet? You, Gil and Eddie.
Yeah, that's our cover story is that we were training to be astronauts at a secret location, the facility that's the government would admit to. It's in the swamps of New Jersey, so that's actually where we met.
Gotcha.
And it turned out that none of us were actually very good at being astronauts. We didn't do most of the drills that we were supposed to participate in. We would just sneak off and find an empty hangar and play music.
Yeah,
So,
I doubt guitars and drums do well in anti-gravity.
well, it's a challenge, Andrew.
I'm sure. A lot of floating around. You can't really do the drumstick twirl when it's floating away from you.
No, but it's great to think about it, isn't it?
It is. Man, I wish we could actually see that. Someone animate that.
As we like to say, we probably would be we would probably make better cartoon characters than we do actual real people.
I think that can be said for a lot of people, I think. When did you start being interested in music? Like, at what point during your childhood did you say that's what I want to pick up and learn, or was it just an instant thing?
No, I mean I liked music, but it was pretty passive until somewhere in my teens. So I actually somebody asked me to sing with a band, and up until that point I didn't actually really really know I could sing. And it was an interesting experience. It was just a high school cover band, you know. So but the guitarists were actually pretty high school players, but they were also typical high school players in the sense that they never ever wanted to turn down the amplifiers.
Right.
So yeah. So I almost never could hear anything that I was actually singing. And at that point, I thought, yeah, maybe I should learn to play the guitar. That way I can avoid these arguments.
And I can actually hear what I sound like over it.
So then and once I started playing, I just loved it. So that was, it took me almost no time to realize that I just really, really wanted to play the guitar.
You just
it took me a few years later to start writing, and then once I started doing that, it was like, okay, I know what I want to do with myself, whether the world agrees or not.
I mean, it's nice to find that thing that you're like, this makes sense to me.
Oh yeah, and especially gratifying when at least, you know, a handful of people who aren't relatives agree.
Yeah. Did you have anything like before that? Like, did you I guess it was in high school when you really found your musical talent and muse?
Yeah, I mean, but that was just the beginning, and it really was a long process for me. And I didn't write my first. I didn't write the first song that I would really take any pride in until several years later. So it took me a long time to really start writing in a way that made me feel like, oh, all right, I've got something here now.
Yeah. Well, I imagine with any kind of process, there's like a learning curve where you have to like, okay, well, let me try this, let me try that, and eventually you get to a point where like, I think I got it now. And
Right.
Then you start really applying it and then challenging yourself beyond that point.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, clearly there are some musicians and songwriters who get it together really, really, at a really, really early age. Sometimes they run out of ideas fairly quickly after that. But it is happen. But it is impressive sometimes how certain people had amazing ideas by the time they were, let's say 21. Took me a little longer than that. A little bit of a slower learner. But
Trust me, I understand on that one.
Yes. Well, as I like to keep saying to my bandmates, it's not a race.
It's all about the process.
That's right. Yeah.
It's not about, the finish line. It's not about the destination. It's the journey, as they say.
Yeah. Exactly.
So were you in a band prior to the Eggplants? So you just said that you were in a high school band. Was there anything before that?
Yeah, and I think I would. Yeah, nothing noteworthy. In college, I was. The best thing about the band I was in college was the name was called Standard Deviation. It was, and the two guys I was playing with were great guys. So that was, it was a very fun experience. But that was. I think they had some pretty good ideas at that point. I still hadn't really figured out what I was doing yet. Like I already kind of knew that I wanted to write music, but it hadn't clicked into place yet for me. So I look back on it fondly. It was an important phase for me. But I didn't start really writing songs that I was really happy with until afterwards.
What did you major in college, by the way?
I eventually ended up with a political science degree, and that was because I was interested in too many things, and so my studies were just all over the place, and it was getting fairly late in my college career, and I realized, oh yeah, I haven't actually picked a major or come close to concentrating in anything, and that became. I think I looked through the rules, and I realized that a major in political science was still achievable without delaying my graduation.
So basically, I've taken so many classes across the spectrum. What can I line up to get a degree in something?
It was really hard, because it was like, well, okay, so I've taken this many credits playing, studying the guitar, and I've taken another class in physics department in black holes and relativity, and I've got all these English courses, and it was just, it was a mess. So it was an experience.
That does kind of explain some of your lyrics, how you can be all, have such a wide variety of cool things.
Thank you. That's a very nice way of looking at it.
I mean, it is nice. I mean, I guess we kind of skipped the bit of like, what is Kenny Young and the Eggplants? Because I'm sure some people are like, well, it's nice and all that you're talking to, dude. What is it? So, I guess you should probably explain it better than I ever could. What is Kenny Young and the Eggplants?
I think you could explain it better than I ever could. Well, I will leave it to you, Andrew, to at some point when I'm not actually present. I'll leave it to you. I'll leave it to you to actually play some music for your viewers. And
oh, definitely.
I could probably explain things more than any words could. How would you describe us? What would you like to say about it?
Well, I actually wrote. I know you can see me. I'm actually glancing up at notes I've written, but I wanted to say like one of the things I like about the band that I've always, to me, kept me coming back to it, was it's different than most of the music I listen to, in a good way. So to me, it's like a great break from like I like punk rock, I like alternative rock, so I'm a big rocker, but I like the acoustic feel you guys have, just the mellowness you usually bring, but sometimes not. Sometimes you have some faster, catchier songs, and what always comes to mind, like it's always eclectically cheerful is what I always kind of come up with when I think of your band. Where it's like it's always eclectic stuff. Where it's like, you know, when else like am I hear a band talk about mutant cheese or Lushy the grouse? Is that what he is? And Wobbly the worm and the savage eggplant. Like where else am I going to hear stuff like that I've always loved? I've always loved the neat, strange things, and so like. I would never find that anywhere else. So it's always that eclectic thing, and it's always cheerful. There's never a negative song you have in your library. So it's like, it's always nice to not have something that's not afraid to be weird. Is also a nice thing, you know? Because so many bands that you want, like you desperately want, like just say something wacky, please. Like, I know you're not Weird Al, but please say something wacky, and they never do. I mean, a couple bands come close. I mean, my other band that I listen to quite a bit is They Might Be Giants, and
sure.
So they're one I also gravitate towards, and it's always nice to have those things to just be like, I don't need to hear someone scream at the top of their lungs about political junk. I want to hear something goofy and fun. So for those of you at home, check them out. They are on iTunes, so you can actually get their music legally, which I did.
And bless you for that. Oh, wait, but we do have a website these days. I mean,
yes.
It's not the most... I mean, it's not surprisingly, it's Kenny Young and the Eggplants.com.
Yep. Actually, I have that written down.
Here's some songs for free on the website, and of course, you can download stuff if you choose to.
Yes.
And as you may have seen, there's actually a little video game on the website that a lad in Scotland made for us. It's the Attack of the Maniac Librarian video game.
I saw that.
It's probably not the biggest challenge for an experienced gamer.
No, but you know, it's still like, hey, it's eggplant themed. I like it.
Very good. So you know, you mentioned being listening to a lot of punk. I've never been locked into a genre in terms of my listening, and Eddie and Gil are the same way. You know, we just listen to all different kinds of stuff.
I mean, I usually do too. I mean, I would say my heaviest punk rock days was when I was in high school, but then ironically enough, I found your band, and that really helped the shift of like now I kind of listen to just about anything. I mean, there was exceptions. I mean, there's certain genres I don't like at all, but generally speaking, I'll listen to anything as long as I can stomach it.
Right.
I know that's.
Well, no, I mean, my feeling is that almost no genre deserves to be completely tossed out. You know, and almost no genre, well, definitely no genre is great top to bottom. You know, so it's a matter of being discriminating within the genres and trying to find stuff you like and not being just stuck in one kind of music. But I just was coming back to the punk thing because among my many musical heroes are the Ramones. I've just a huge Ramones fan, and
well, how can you not be, right? I said, well, how can you not be, right?
Certainly, how I feel, and you know, I think they were one of many influenced me in the sense that I realized, oh, well, you know what? You can write a great song and it can be funny, and
Yep.
and those aren't those two concepts are not battling each other.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a sense of humor and it can still be a great song.
Right. You can be out there and work hard, but have fun at the same time.
Yep. So there you go. And they were from Forest Hills, Queens. So they're it's another thing to be said in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, New York has no shortage of great acts going its way.
Yes.
I mean, that's really a big cultural hub for you, so it's not hard to imagine you finding great things to draw from. Speaking of drawing from, did when you did finally get together with Gil and Eddie after your astronaut training, where did the Eggplant name come from?
Yeah, I really wish I had a great story to go along with that. But I think what we tell people mostly these days is that we decided at some point that the eggplant somehow symbolized the eggplant is the rebel of the vegetable kingdom. It doesn't look like the other vegetables, and presumably when it sings, it doesn't sound like the other vegetables either.
Right.
And in the kingdom of in the vegetable kingdom, in eggplant, as we say, the eggplant is the rebel. It's the one that won't follow your rules, man. It's a funny word, so we liked it.
Yeah. Were there any alternate names you were throwing around before you stuck with Eggplant, or was it just like Eggplant right away?
Yeah, no, we just kind of knew it right away. We had I had done some. This actually even predates Eddie being in the band because my buddy Jeff was our first percussionist, but we weren't actually even a band yet. I had done some shows at a club, and somebody had told me that if I recorded some of the songs that someone in the audience was a disc jockey at WBAI, which is the public radio station and that comes out of New York City. Mm-hmm. And someone said, when Samuel said that if you recorded that song about the haircut, she'd put it on the air,
Eddie got a haircut?
So I thought, well, all right, well, I guess I better do that. I better record it so I can get on the radio. So really the band came together just to do a demo tape, just so we could get the song on the radio. And it just turned out that, we really had fun. But as a joke, I think at some point when we had actually copied the recordings onto a cassette, I had written Kenny Young and the Eggplants kind of as a joke because I just thought it was funny, and I showed it to the guys, and they said, "That's great." I don't know. Who can understand these things?
Yeah.
But now we have to make up all sorts of reasons why the Eggplant.
Yeah, I mean, it's always just amusing how bands come up with names and they settle for that and not like, yeah, we ended up with Eggplants because we were originally going to be Psycho Badgers in the Park, but it didn't really roll off the tongue very well.
Yeah, there once upon a time there was a band that used to play at CBGBs all the time. When I was a kid, they were called the Big Fat Pet Clams from Outer Space. I never actually got to hear them, but I wasn't old enough to go to the club. And this was, this was long before the downloading, easy access music days. Mm-hmm. But at least some people had the theory that they had picked this name because in those days, clubs always ran newspaper ads. And if you had a really long name like that, you were going to take up a big chunk of the ad.
So it's like, they must be big because look at how big the ad is.
That's exactly right. Like compared to all the other band names, this one's taking up that much space.
You got there's The Used, but that's so small compared to the giant clams of outer space. Let's go to that.
That's right. Yeah, clearly more important than the Kinks.
Yes, exactly.
Another favorite band, by the way.
Speaking of the Savage Eggplant, who drew it and/or created them? Like who I guess gets the credit for that?
It's shared credit. I think my dad was a really good cartoonist, and he used to. It was always a great thing to get a birthday card from my dad because he would draw cartoons with weird captions, and like the actual Hallmark content was not important. It didn't matter what the card initially said. He just wanted to see what Dad's cartoons were all about. So at one point, after the band got together, Dad started drawing little Eggplants playing instruments, but they were pretty cute, and they were a little too cute for what I was going for at the time. And I was telling this artist that I knew, Randy Sanders, is a really talented artist. I was telling him that I want something like my dad's drawings, but a little bit more like the kind of mischievous things that I draw with big toothy grins on it and stuff. and Randy went off on his own and came back with it and said, "Oh, like this." And, so it was Randy combining my dad's idea and my idea. So there it is. It's a mishmash. And then since then, Mike DeSantis is the artist who has done the artwork for all of our albums. So he has taken that Eggplant character and put it in all kinds of fun visual situations. I'm sure you know.
What's nice about it is it's kind of both simplistic yet not. Like it has its very great charm to it. Like it's clearly an eggplant with a big grin, holding a protractor, or wearing a pirate's hat, which was one of my favorites.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like it's definitely cute, and it definitely embodies, I think, what you go for. So it definitely works.
I'm glad. Thank you.
So I guess here comes a more bland / maybe not easy to answer question, and one that you've probably heard a million times, but got to ask anyway.
Sure.
How does your personal creative process work? Like coming up with some of these concepts you have for the songs, where does that come from? And like, obviously you're not afraid to go to the silly places, so that certainly doesn't hold you back.
It doesn't follow that much of a pattern. One thing I like to say, is that you're right. People ask me this all the time, and especially when we're on the road. If people haven't seen us before, I frequently get asked, "Boy, you have all these weird ideas. Where do you get those weird ideas from?" What I usually try to say with a straight face, which is a bit of a challenge, is that actually I have no imagination whatsoever. I'm completely I'm just a dull reporter. It just so happens that I live a really weird life, So I'm not imaginative. I just happen to have a 6-foot squirrel living in my garden.
And you've happened to have seen a band that has skyscrapers for hair.
Yes, I'm just dutifully reporting what I experienced.
Honestly, that's the beauty of living in New York, right? You'll always see something new every day.
There you go. Exactly. That's very, very
I kind of expect, if I ever go to New York City, to see someone surfing on a subway train. It's like, wow, he was right. How did he get up there?
Guaranteed to happen if you come.
Who does all the writing for the band? Is it just you, or does everybody else have a say?
Well, I do the writing and everyone has a say.
It's all the above.
So yes, I write things and then people tell me whether it's any good or not. And then we arrange everything together. So yeah, it's not like I'm not writing the bass parts and the drums and Eddie Gill coming up with all that stuff. So the arrangement all happens together, and but the songs definitely go through this process of me nervously. Even after all these years, I still get really nervous playing them a new song. Luckily, my batting average is pretty high.
Yeah, I guess they haven't come to you like after you're done. You're like, "What do you think?" And they're like, "A giant squirrel. What are you talking about?"
No. Yeah, well, we cleared that hurdle a long time ago. I think pretty clearly if they had a problem with the weird lyrics, they would have been out of here a long time ago.
Yeah.
To their credit, they greatly encouraged me. And yeah, no, they I think they enjoy the weird concepts quite a bit.
All right, shifting gears just a little bit, because I do want to clue some people in as how we actually kind of met, but not met. in a way. When I was in high school, I was part of the one of the very few, if not only right now, but I think there might be some more popping up. It was a high school run radio station, very, very rare, because typically you don't give high schoolers power of any sort, especially airwave power, where you can get massive fines by the FCC. So, when you have high schoolers who are typically more prone to spout profanities, you typically don't want to give them open mics. But for whatever reason, they let us do it, and it's been very successful. But anyway, I was part of that station, had my own, and got to a point where I had my own little show with two of my friends, and I've always been very heavily into like comedy stuff. I loved silly things even when I was in my heavy punk rock phase. So I was like, all right, let me do the comedy portion of the show. My friend can do the punk rock portion, got to have that, and then the other person did the alternative rock portion. And so we were doing that and doing skits, and then I was starving for content because I had Weird Al, which is a go-to, but like I was struggling to find something else. And then one day, because I also had I had my own little cubby hole. One day I got a little mixed CD of various songs, and I think two or three of your songs was on it. The other songs were on it was an artist by the name of Wally Pleasant. He's out in Michigan.
Right.
And so I'm listening to it. I'm like, this is perfect. And I played him. I think the very first song of yours I played was Rambo Goes Shopping. And we had a phone line like most radios do. And the moment as soon as I got finished playing it, started getting calls like, who is that? And I'm like, it's Kenny Young and the Eggplants. Do you have any more? I'm like, I've got like one other song. So I played it the very next week. And like, that's great. Do you have any more? I'm like, no, I don't. And this was the age before, I think it was just before Napster.
Right.
So, and obviously just before I knew that was, Napster was illegal. So, so I reached out to you guys and said, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. Do you think maybe sort of you can give me some music? Like half expecting you to be like, sure, if you could give us some money, which you probably should have. but much.
Another mistake we made.
Yeah, but I mean, granted, I was with a student station. I'm sure you're like, oh, pity on him, because they have no money. But lo and behold, not only did you give me a CD, I was expecting like maybe a CD. You gave me two, and eggplant buttons and stickers. So I literally was bouncing down the hall going, Eggplants! And when it just proceeded to play the music that I could, and the nice thing was it was all clean, so I didn't have to worry about that. The only detriment to it was right after 9/11 happened, so I couldn't play anything that mentioned World Trade Center then because people were like, too soon, man, too soon. So I'm like, okay. I could play it years later when I went to my college radio station. I was able to play more of your songs. I don't think they actually have any of your CDs there, which is unfortunate, which I tried to fix, but they didn't want to take my burned copies. It's like, I have a burn. Like, no, we want official. I'm like, but it's the same thing. I'm like, I'll work on it. So, yeah, I mean, that was my very first exposure, and hence the reason why I've always decided to stay in touch with the band, just like that act of pure kindness of like, hey, you actually took the time out to say, you know what, yes, we will give you some music because we want you to listen to it, we want others to listen to it and enjoy it. And you didn't have to do that, but you did. So I've always held that special, like, no matter what, I will always put them on a pedestal here. And I want other people to know who they are. I want people to know, hey, there's a band called Kenny Young and the Eggplants, and I'm unfortunately I get a lot of who, and that kind of leads to which kind of leads to my question of every time I look something up about you guys, I see a lot of they're big in the UK, BBC, in Scotland. I'm like, why do they get it? What in the world is the UK so awesome? Like, why? How come they just understand this? And other than New York, why is and some college radio stations, why does no one get this? So I guess the big question is like, how come the UK seems to get it more than the US?
I don't know how to answer that, Andrew, without getting in trouble one place or another. No, I don't know. I mean, obviously, we're just grateful that anybody likes us anywhere. And college radio across the U.S. has been great consistently, from the very first album. So you have to figure that does represent some portion of college kids out there. But yeah, I don't know. America's a very, very big country.
Yes, it is.
And it's hard to make a significant dent without some kind of large organization, slash corporation behind you.
Gotcha.
Unless you're just really, 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 really lucky. So.
Gotcha. I guess that's the joy / curse of getting a major label behind you. It's like, you're ours, and you're like, hooray! But you're ours forever, and we own your stuff. Like, boo. But
that's right.
But I mean, that's kind of the catch-22 of like, you want to make music, but you don't want to be the, and of course you want to make something out of it, but you don't want to be the guys who sell out and not have ownership over your stuff, I imagine.
No, of course not. But on the other hand, obviously they have methods in place for making you far more famous than you probably can ever become on your own.
True. I mean, I'm personally happy you're getting airplay via college stations. I mean, that delights me to no end every time I see that. So I'm always happy for that. And plus, I'm
very, very grateful for it.
Yeah, I mean, and you have been on some cool things. Like you were on Dr. Demento, I believe, right?
Oh yeah. He probably plays us at least twice a year. he's a really nice man. We got to meet him. He came to New York just a few years ago and did a live show from the venue that B.B. King owns at Times Square, and we were among the performers at his live show, and we got to hang out with him a little bit beforehand, and he was just as nice as could be. And he has said many really flattering things about us over the years, and he'll send me nice emails now and then. So he's a fine gentleman. Yep.
And I also noticed, and I'll let you take the reign on that one. I noticed you won an award.
I can fill for you here while you look it up.
Go ahead. Let's.
Yeah, it was in Scotland. We won a Herald Angel Award, which was awarded by the music critic of the Herald, which is one of the two most prestigious newspapers in Scotland. And music critics, obviously, we think very highly of her.
Yes.
And it was just really flattering because we were, all joking aside, people think we're joking about this, but we're not. We didn't actually know we were eligible for an award. So in a way, it was like the greatest thing that there was no anxiety whatsoever. We didn't know we were nominated. We didn't know that it was even possible for us to win an award there. It's in the summertime, well, in August in Edinburgh, they have all these, they have the Fringe Festival and they have the International Festival, and these are major arts festivals.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard of it, because I have followed some indie films now and then, and they go through that.
They've got a film festival, they've got a jazz festival, they've got a science festival, and all these things pretty much happen in August. And the awards, well, some awards we don't even think about because they're specifically for things like theater and comedy, and we're not like stand-up comedy, so we're not going to be considered for anything like that. Mm-hmm. And this particular award apparently can go to anybody in any genre, and but that kind of makes it a little more remarkable that we won it, because it could have gone to, it could have gone to a classical orchestra, it could have gone to some brilliant actor, it could have gone to a writer, it could have gone to anybody in the arts, and for some reason they picked us. So yeah, it's here, I can hold on a second. I'm going to disappear off screen for a second. I'll show you the award.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. There he is. Can you see him?
Oh, neat. Yeah. Very cool.
Yes, he's the Herald Angel. We call him Harold. And it was pretty fun. That we attended some ceremony at a very nice venue, and it was early in the morning, and just to show you that absolutely nothing about our lives had actually changed. I immediately had to. Well, Eddie and Gil went elsewhere in town to try to promote our show, which was happening that night. Mm-hmm. And I was the one who transported the award back to the apartment where we were staying. Did I? No, I didn't even splurge for a taxi. I just took a bus, right? And I'm sitting there, and this young woman's sitting across the aisle, a couple of seats ahead, and she steals a couple of looks at me, and she turns around. She says, "You're one of the Eggplants, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And she said, "Oh, I saw you last year. You guys are absolutely brilliant. I love you. I've told all my friends about you." And I said, "Oh, thank you very much." And I said, "Look, we won an award." In life, you got to do that. Well, you think I'm good? Look.
It's like, look, other people do too. That's great.
It was pretty fun. And then at the airport, when we were flying home, I kept it in my hand luggage because I didn't want it to get destroyed in my suitcase. As my I guess the bag goes through the X-ray machine, and suddenly I hear I won't try to do the Scottish accent, but suddenly I hear someone with an awesome Scottish accent, saying, "Who won the Oscar?" What that looks like.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So there you go. Those are great moments of pseudo fame.
I don't want to get too personal with this next question, but are you able to do being an eggplant for a living, or do you have to do other stuff to supplement it?
It's yes. I shall dance around that question.
I mean, I don't want to ask something too personal. I don't want to put you on the spot.
It's it's a bit of a struggle, but that is certainly the primary focus of my life. But I've done writing and editing and various other things to keep going. So it is certainly my central vocation. But it hasn't been the only thing that I've done over the years. How's that for a semi-discreet answer?
Yeah, I mean, it's perfectly understandable, and I'll take that as an answer. I mean, because we were briefly talking earlier where it's tough nowadays just to be in the arts, so I can completely understand. I mean, even some more well-known bands are having trouble these days, so it's perfectly understandable.
The internet has made it much easier for people to get access to whatever it is that you create, and that's the good side of it. But it's way harder to actually make money.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely a double-edged sword, where you're on iTunes, so people can legally download your music and you can gain awareness. But on the other hand, there's people who don't want to legally get your music.
Right, and it isn't as if you received a tremendous amount of compensation for those downloads, even when people are doing everything properly.
Right. What would you say would be I guess the award is definitely one, but what would you say would be a career high for you as an eggplant? If I can call you that.
Right. Well, I have to say that it's an easy answer for me. Because I met my wife when we were on tour in Scotland. And she was actually the person. We used to joke she was the person who had the misfortune of doing the lighting for us for about a month. We kept saying to her, "Can't you make us look better? Can't you make us? Isn't there some way to light us that we look better?" That's better. So yeah, what can I say? That beats the heck out of anything else I could have.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I guess on the flip side, what would be a low for you other than this interview?
Oh no! I'm enjoying this interview thoroughly. I mean before I get to there's some pretty good lows, but the stick. I have to say with the highs, also playing. We've been on the BBC a few times on the radio, and from various different locations. Mm-hmm. When we were invited down to play at BBC, the BBC radio studio in London, that was just so cool. And we did we ended up doing 2 or 3 shows there with this guy named Tom Robinson, who was generous enough to have us on and multiple times. And that was seriously exciting.
I'll bet.
And we had some pretty amazing shows in London over the years as well. On the flip side, somebody actually once booked us to play at a shopping mall, and I don't know where it was. It was pretty far out of the city. Nothing per mile. It was a huge shopping mall, and we're playing in this outdoor gazebo, and there's nobody there. You know, every once in a while in the distance, you'd see somebody with like a Gucci bag under their arm, you know, looking at us slightly fearfully, and then starting off in a different direction. And so we realized that it made no difference what we played, and so just to be I don't know, punks, I guess. we played Rambo Go Shopping about 10 times in a row. just drive them nuts. The only song we had about shopping, so it seemed like the right thing to do. That was, I would say that was probably the most ridiculous gig we ever had. On one of our BBC performances, it was a variety show, and it was from Edinburgh. It was being broadcast in Edinburgh, and it was a true variety show in which you just didn't know what kind of an act was coming up next.
Gotcha.
And slightly before the Eggplants were scheduled to go on, some troupe of clowns was asked to perform. Beautiful venue, by the way. It was an old concert hall with a balcony and beautiful ornamentation, and I mean, just really, really, really tasteful place. It turned out that they weren't just clowns; they were mimes, and this is the radio. So this troupe of mimes is running around this beautiful venue. They're running into the audience. They're blowing whistles. That's the only sound that they're making. And besides that, we've pretty much got dead air. You know?
So.
And of course, you know, there's nothing. Once who knows how this got booked, but once it started, there's no way to stop it. So, they probably lost a few listeners long before we ever got to play our first note.
Wow. You think they would have seen that coming? Because I can just imagine, like, you tune in, you're like, okay, I hear whistles and I hear audience laughter, but nothing else.
Yeah.
So that'd definitely be a strange broadcast.
So you know, it has occurred to me at times that what I should do is I should take some of these stories and mix them with with ones I'm just making up, you know, and just create this completely fictitious the chronicle of the band, which, you know, is kind of in keeping with everything else we have said about the band, I guess.
I mean, you could totally do like a whole, Eggplants on the road and just have themed songs. Right. Where like, and this one time following that clown mime troupe on the radio of all places.
when we did some tours in the UK, and we played in Glasgow a few times in Scotland, and there was a nice man who arranged to let us stay in this hotel on a main street in Glasgow called Buchanan Street, and it was basically we were getting to stay there for free. It was fantastic, we were treated wonderfully. I wonder if I shouldn't have said that. Well, anyway, so the only thing, as it turns out, it overlooked Buchanan Street, and there was there were more than a few pubs there, and so on Friday night and Saturday night, it would get a little bit noisy down there as people consume more and more alcohol and would start to sing in the streets. And so it was just like a small leap for me to start imagining that, that one day, we'd be there, we'd be on tour, we'd be exhausted, we'd be dying to fall asleep, and we wouldn't be able to fall asleep because there'd be people singing Lushy the Grouse out on the sidewalk. Keeping us awake with our own music. You kids, shut up! Stop playing my song! Keep them asleep.
I appreciate it, but not now.
that's the kind of story that's going to go into our fictitious chronicle someday.
I mean, some of the best fantasy is based on truth, as they say. So, what would be next for you guys? Are you working on anything right now?
Yeah, we've probably got enough material for our next album, and we are going to return this summer to Scotland. We didn't go last summer. UK didn't need us last year. They had the Olympics and a celebration for the Queen and a wedding and so on. So we figured they could live without the Eggplants for a year.
Yeah, it's tough to compete when the Brits are having we're British, hurrah, and backflips.
They weren't going to put us on a boat and float us down the Thames.
No. And while we're being proud of being British, here's an American band.
Yeah, we didn't want to cause an international incident. So,
how awesome would that be? Like, this is just the headline: Eggplants causes international incident.
Well, it would be good because it would be. Well, I don't remember the details of this. There's some story about the Sex Pistols doing something obnoxious. Really, the Sex Pistols did something obnoxious? You say?
It's like really? Do tell.
Yeah, I don't.
And did you hear that water is wet?
It was at some celebration for the Queen, I believe. Probably, obviously around sometime like 1970, I don't know, 77, something like that. And apparently it was one of these events that was going to include all kinds of dignitaries on very nice boats and very nice yachts out on the Thames. And somehow Malcolm McLaren arranged for the Sex Pistols to be on a boat in the middle of this, playing really loudly, and I'm sure acting inappropriately.
I mean, what's funny is it just sounds like a recipe for disaster. Just getting to it.
It totally does. So anyway, yeah. But we'll go back this year. I think we don't have to worry about an international incident this time. And I've got this week. I'm going to try to record a little tune on the electric guitar because we've strangely there's a famous author who's been an advocate for the Eggplants, Alexander McCall Smith, was a really good writer and ridiculously successful, and he ended up becoming a fan of the band. I think because his daughter originally was a fan. Anyway, so it has something to do with a project for him. I have no idea if anything will actually come out of it or not, but it'll be exciting for at least a week when I feel like, I'm working on this project that has something to do with a very famous author.
Yeah, that's always something cool. I mean, what's nice about that is like every day is like something awesome can happen today. So it's always a cool thing.
Well, that's yeah.
Do you have any favorite places to play?
Say again?
Do you have any favorite venues to play?
Right. Yes. Now, our regular place in New York City for the last several years has been a place called The Living Room, and it's a wonderful venue. And as it so happens, they'll be shutting their doors at the end of January. We're playing. Andrew, when is this being broadcast?
Probably at the beginning of next month. So probably by the time this goes up, it'll be over.
Oh. Okay, so yeah, it will be over. We're playing there January 25th, and then the club's going to shut down a few days later. Now, thankfully, the owners are planning on relocating, hopefully soon. But we played in a zillion places over the years, including CBGB once we got old enough to play there. And I have great memories of all kinds of places. But the Living Room's been definitely a favorite in recent years.
Other than the UK and New York, do you venture to any other cities or states, or is it just those are the two areas?
We have done things when the opportunity has come around. So we've certainly traveled elsewhere in the metropolitan area, as we say up here. We've had some really fun shows elsewhere in New York State. and in New Jersey. But every once in a while, something, we'll get an offer out of the blue to go somewhere. We had some great gigs up in New England a bunch of years ago. Played all the places that you would want to play in Boston and so on. And we played this fantastic venue that I guess doesn't exist anymore, but it was called the world famous Elvis Room, and it was in Plymouth, New Hampshire, I think. I'm not even actually sure where it was, but I think it was. I'm fairly confident it was in New Hampshire, and it was a place completely adorned with Elvis stuff. That was a great little venue. We had a great time there, and we.
Please tell me you played the song where Elvis is in the pizza there.
Oh, yeah, well, yes, of course we did. We got flown to Pittsburgh to play at a science fiction convention.
Nice.
So yeah, we will travel when the opportunity presents itself. But travel in the U.S. is expensive, so it's got to really make sense. We did actually make one. We did make one West Coast trip as well. We went out. We played San Francisco, and we played on the radio when we were out there, and it was we had a good time.
Very cool. Who handles all that, by the way? Is that through you or somebody else have it?
Well, sadly, too much of it has to do with me. But usually it only happens when there is somebody out there helping us. So it's usually somebody local. And that's true both in the U.S. and in the U.K. There's a lovely man in the U.K. in Edinburgh who takes care of getting us work permits and arranges a certain number of our gigs for us, especially in Edinburgh. But we're still dependent on people who want to help us to get us nearly anywhere else, even in London and Oxford. We've got somebody on the ground there who helps us with that particular city. So
basically, like it's usually the person who owns the venue is like, hey, let's get these guys here, and they arrange to get you there. That's usually how it works.
Sometimes it's that way, and sometimes other times it's that there's just some wonderful, dedicated person who is determined to organize something for us in their town, and then magically it happens.
Yeah.
That's how we ended up in London initially, and that's how we got to play in Oxford in England, and all of those gigs have been fantastic, and none of them were organized by people who would be considered rock and roll promoters for sure, or club owners.
Oh, very cool. Anything you want to plug, like any other than the one that you aren't going to be able to get people for this particular broadcast? Any upcoming shows you want to let people know about?
If you get to play some tunes at some point and people like them, I hope they'll come visit us on the website, and we'll certainly keep the website updated enough so that at least people can know about gigs and records to be recorded and whatever else exciting things maybe in the near future for us.
All right, so that is Kenny Young and the Eggplants.com. Are you on Twitter or Facebook? They can find you there. Do you have fan pages?
We're on Facebook, yeah.
But not Twitter yet?
No, I think...
You don't want to go full tilt on that stuff, huh?
I think I would be really self-conscious on Twitter. I mean, the thing is that I can't see myself ever saying anything, even remotely serious on Twitter. I would always be, tweeting nonsense, and I just don't know if the world needs that.
Let me clue you in a little secret. I have Twitter, and almost all I do is nonsense. So trust me, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised that some guy with the name Kenny Young and the Eggplants is saying, hey, my show, I'm going to have this show here, and we're going to be singing about mutant cheese and 8-armed people playing ping pong and pirate radio run by pirates. So honestly, I don't think you're going to weird people. I mean, I've seen other people spout complete nonsense, so I don't think you would have anything much to worry about. And plus, I mean, if your fan base is following you, they're going to be expecting that, I would say.
Well, I guess that's true. I think it just I had this terrible fear that it would make me feel, somehow that my words have far more weight than they should. For God's sakes, nobody should be taking my advice.
Well, I mean, it's whatever's best for you. At least you have the page, so if there's something you just want to write down, like have a blog, I guess, it's like, hey, here's my travel journey of this time, and here's the tour, and all this. That's a great place to have it, so, because you can't really blog on Twitter, because it's just little blurbs.
Right. People like it does.
Yeah, although you did for a little while, I believe, when MySpace was still around, you had that. Because I think when that was...
Yeah. There was a period in which you pretty much had to be on MySpace if you had a band that was going to get booked anywhere. And for a brief time period, that worked really well. I mentioned before that we've been out to California, and all the shows we did out there were booked through MySpace. So there was that moment when that was the best way to get gigs.
Yeah, although I think from what the commercials have been trying to tell us, cause I think didn't Justin Timberlake buy it for a good chunk of money, and he's trying to make it back into like it being a music promotion tool. So, obviously I've had no reason to go back to it, but maybe it's something for you to look at, see if it's a venue for you guys again. Because for a while, once people left, it was dead for a long time. Yeah. So, and the only reason I'm saying this, because I'm not saying Eddie, what am I saying? Kenny, you should do this. And because I'm not trying to push you, do it. It was but it's I do want to help, say, people should know about this. I want people to know.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Because honestly, if for what you're getting, I'm getting less. I have maybe 3 people who actually listen to this stuff. So I'm on. If I'm hoping and praying someone else other than my 3 friends who listen. I know I get some because I'm on this goes on iTunes, and it's also on Stitcher, which is a podcast app. So it's on those 2 things. Right. And I know more than 2 people listen to that, so I'm hoping people will be like, oh, that's cool. So I know I'm probably not going to do you any world favors saying, hey, go listen to Kenny Young and the Eggplants, but I'm going to try.
Andrew, I appreciate that.
And just to let everyone know, the albums that are available are Even One Is Quite a Few, Toxic Swamp and Other Love Songs, The Search for Eggplantis, or Glam and a Half Shell, whichever you choose, I suppose. R, which is one of my favorites, and The House at Creepy Lake, which is the newest one. And I say newest as in 2009. not to make fun.
We're a little behind schedule as usual.
But that's okay. Honestly, it's Eggplant content. Anytime it's there, it's great stuff. So I highly advise anyone listening to check those out. Go to the KennyYoungandTheEggplants.com page. Listen to some songs. If you like it, download some legally, please. And if you're in the New York area or UK, if I have any listeners there, or Edinburgh, check them out when they're there.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Anything you want to add, sir?
No, it's been a pleasure to speak to you, and I wish you tremendous success with your show too.
Thank you.
And this and the world will be a very, very fine place when everyone is when thousands and thousands of people will be listening to your broadcast and possibly listening to Eggplants as well.
Yeah, there is one thing I do want to add, because I'm sort of kind of making you aware of it, if it happens. The people who listen to this know what I am certified in already, but I am a certified English teacher, so I'm hoping to get either middle school or high school. And what I'm hoping to do is try to help students out with their writing, and part of that is let's look at some lyrics and various bands and songs, and ones that are obviously popular ones that they know that I might not know, because there's new stuff all the time. But there's also stuff you're always bound to hit some kids who are well, I don't really know what I want to talk about. It's listen, here's some lyrics of something that's really kooky and fun, and if they can get away with writing songs about this, you can. And so I'm going to be more than happy to introduce students to your music when I can. Obviously, I can't be listen to it and go buy it, because you can't promote stuff to the kids. But it would be an actual teaching tool to use that I can say, hey, it's when teaching about poetry, because if you break songs down, they can be very poetic. and, look at the rhyming schemes and all that sort of stuff. So to me, that's going to be a teaching aid for me when I finally get there, hopefully.
That's fantastic. Well, that would make us very proud. Lord knows what kind of a generation of children you'll be sending out into the world.
Hopefully interesting ones, and hopefully I'm not sounding too much like a giant fanboy right now, even though I didn't think I was until I actually started talking to you, but like, wow. But I want to thank you very much for being here, man. I appreciate it very much.
It's been a pleasure, Andrew. I'm really happy we were able to do this. And we'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, sometime soon. You always got my contact information on Facebook and all that. So as we say at the end of my podcast, we say, freaks out.
Freaks out, Andrew.
Freaks in, freaks out.
The content of the Freakacast is copyright to Andrew Felson and Matthew Puetz. All characters belong to their respective owners. A full list of music used will be provided on the website. This podcast is for entertainment use only. Copyright 2013. Check us out on afelson1.wordpress.com. That is afelson1.wordpress.com. We are on Stitcher and iTunes. And Facebook under the Freakacast and Freakout Entertainment.
1, 2, 3, huh. It's another boring day at the mall. But then a grenade explodes through a wall. The customers panic and try to flee. There's napalm in the lingerie. Rambo goes shopping. Rambo goes shopping. Rambo goes shopping. Oh, forget the sales, dear, let's go home. In his heart, there's murder in his eyes. Well, I guess there was nothing in his size. You know, the salesmen all feel a chill in their spines as his machete slices through the Calvin Kleins. Rambo goes shopping. Rambo goes shopping. Rambo goes shopping. Oh, forget the sales, dear, let's go home. Knives are groovy. Yo, Adrian! Whoops, wrong movie. Oh, at the deli counter, the people all freeze when he always orders American cheese. Rambo goes shopping. Rambo goes shopping. Rambo goes shopping. Now I'm not talking about that poet. Rambo goes shopping. Rambo goes shopping. Rambo goes shopping. Oh, forget the sales, dear, let's go home. Double hook.
Hi, this is Kenny Young of Kenny Young and the Eggplants, and you're listening to the Freakacast.
Surfing on the arch stain on my